Welcome to Beyond Adjustments, the podcast where I interview top chiropractors like Dr. Ken Kaufman under the guise of helping my audience. But let's be honest, I'm secretly trying to collect enough insider knowledge to become the world's most well-adjusted patient. And I apologize in advance for these dad jokes, guys. It's just in me. I can't help myself. But today's guest is Dr. Kaufman, a legend in sports medicine who's treated everyone from Major League Baseball players to weekend warriors who probably should have stretched first. But we're talking about cutting edge therapies, what it takes to deliver pro level care to everyday athletes, and how to keep your practice on the cutting edge without breaking the bank. So if you're a chiropractor looking for tips to elevate your clinic, or just someone who wants to avoid pulling a muscle while tying your shoes, that's never happened to me, this episode is for you. So let's get into it before I accidentally throw out my back just sitting here. Cue the music. Dr. Kaufman, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast here with me. I am so happy you're here. Thank you, really.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm happy to have this conversation.
Today, we're going to jump into a few topics, and I'm excited to have you, man, because your background is just so cool. First of all, the fact that you've, uh, been with pro athletes and helped them, nurse them back to health and giving them the
Mhm.
tools that they need to be their optimal self. I love that stuff, man. What initially drew you to chiropractic care? Like, was there something specific that happened where you said, okay, this is it, right? It solidified in that moment your decision to pursue a chiropractic path.
Well, I was under chiropractic care since I was 14 years old from, various
Wow.
sports injuries and whatnot. And that was in Michigan when I first started. And when I moved down here in, let's see, it was 1985, 1985, early 1986. I'm in Sarasota, Florida. First thing I did was try to find a chiropractor down here and went to see him. At the time I had, made it through almost the whole semester of college, partied too much up in Central Michigan University. And, wasn't quite ready, but I moved down, worked for my parents. They bought a print shop franchise when offset printing was still a thing. Now it's a dinosaur, no longer around.
For
But
sure.
the first thing I did was try to find a chiropractor, and I was going to see this doctor down in Venice. And, he was a great guy. He, had a great looking business. His patients loved him. He was busy, he drove a nice car, lived in a nice neighborhood in a nice house. And he kind of mentored me, and, that mentorship led me into, checking out chiropractic as a profession. And that's what got me into going to chiropractic college, and,
Gotcha.
love the idea of holistic medicine. And, again, I was a chiropractic patient myself, had great results. So why not try to provide that for people in my sphere of influence?
Absolutely. So obviously, we've all had our own journeys. We've had challenges. We've had hiccups. We've had trials. All that, right? Our
Hmm.
pains, the moments that we've enjoyed, happy moments, and they influence the way we interact with life, right? And I feel like with chiropractors, that specifically would influences the way, like our life experiences, influences the way you interact with your patients. At least that's what I've observed. So how has that happened for you as far as your journey? How was that? Because you said since 14, you've been getting adjusted. You had that experience with that doctor from Venice. And
Hmm.
so, how did that really influence your interaction with your current patients today?
Well, as a, former athlete, and athletes never really are former athletes. It's kind of like, I guess, the Marines. You're never not a Marine. You're always a Marine. But I'm hanging on by a thread. But I know what my patients are going through because I've been there. I've
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
torn ligaments in my ankle. I've had stress fractures in my back and herniated discs and torn rotator cuff. I've had just about every injury that my patients come in with. I've had it. And so I'm able to speak to them on their terms and understand, you know, I understand what drives them because
Sure.
I'm, kind of in the same boat. So I often tell, my, associate chiropractor and my team, pain is not the motivation for somebody to come into our office. It's what the pain is preventing them from enjoying. So if it's playing pickleball, if it's playing golf, if it's picking up your grandkids, if it's just getting a good night's
Yeah.
sleep, that
Yeah.
is what drives people. And I understand that.
Yeah.
And so it really gives me a good connection with my patients.
Yeah. That's good, man. One of the things that actually drew me to your practice and then you specifically was your motto. You say you don't have to be a pro to be treated like one. And I think it speaks volumes, honestly, because one, it stands out to me big time. But two,
Hmm.
I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. We're all people. We all need the same kind of health care
Hmm.
available to us. What inspired you to make that professional level care, I would say, accessible to everybody, especially big gut folks like myself?
Well, well, I mean, it really, my journey, I've been in practice now 30 years. I celebrated a 30-year anniversary
Wow.
August 1st.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then the first 15 years of my career really was just your standard chiropractic care. I was a straight chiropractor. I went to Life Chiropractic College. All I did was adjust. I'm very good at it. I still do adjusting.
Mm,
But 15 years ago, I got a call or an email rather from the medical coordinator for the Baltimore Orioles, and they were relocating their spring training operations from the east coast of Florida to Sarasota. And so
mm.
they were looking for a chiropractor to take care of the athletes and wanted to know if I was interested in pursuing that. And hell yeah, I am.
Yeah.
So ironically enough, there was a few chiropractors that they reached out to that weren't interested. They were like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that." Which to
Really?
me, yeah, I know. Like, what? You don't want to work on
What?
professional athletes and work for a
Right.
professional sports team. But anyways, so when I started working there, again, all I was doing is adjusting in my practice, but I was seeing the level of care that these athletes were getting.
Mm,
If, and you've seen it, somebody gets injured, the athletic trainers were out on the field assessing them immediately. Okay. They're, getting them stabilized. They're getting treatment done. If they need imaging, they get imaging right away. Now can you imagine if, somebody, a pro athlete gets injured and they want to get an MRI of their injured knee or whatever it is. And the MRI center saying, "Oh, well, we can get you in a week from Thursday."
yeah.
That's just not
No.
happening.
No.
But they get assessed right away. They get professionals, multidisciplinary professionals jumping in to, provide their expertise. If it's an orthopedic evaluation, if it's a chiropractor evaluation, if it's emergency medicine application, it all happens in real time under one roof
Yeah.
and right there. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's how I kind of evolved into the whole thing is that we, over the course of 15 years, we added different modalities. We added different multidisciplinary practitioners and different therapies and, corrective exercise. I have a nurse practitioner. And so we,
Mm,
basically created a whole environment where outside of
mm.
going and get imaging, because I'm not investing in a MRI machine. But
Wow.
outside of that, everything is all done under one roof. And
Yeah.
we have, almost every town has MRI centers that will see patients right away because that's an expensive piece of equipment. And if they
Yeah.
have gaps in their schedule, they're willing to
It's going to
do,
cost
an
them.
MRI for
Yeah.
$350 self-pay. I can
Right.
get you in, an hour and a half. And so
Right.
that's what we do. So patients come in, they get seen same day. We evaluate them right away. We get treatment
Mm.
started right away. We get imaging done relatively quickly. But, the fact of the matter is that, my patients are treated just like professional athletes would be treated if they were, on a professional sports team.
Got it. Love it, man. Love it. Okay. Baltimore Orioles, Pittsburgh
Pirates.
Pirates, right?
Yeah, now I'm with the Pirates. Right after COVID, well, during COVID, actually, when they had the shortened season, the Orioles said, we're not going to have any outside people in, blah, blah, blah. But then the Pirates wanted me to come in and see some of their players, which was interesting because I went from the Orioles. I was in their training room with everybody around, all the, working alongside the orthopedic surgeons and the physical therapists and all the trainers and whatnot. And then when I went to the Pirates, and it was all because of COVID, I mean, it was, just a weird time. They had me in the umpire's locker room, with a portable table and, one guy at a time would come in to see me. So it was like, well, this is weird. But then, now I'm with the Pirates full time and not full time, but during spring training and I'm in their
Mm,
training room,
mm,
just like I was
love
with the
it.
Orioles. So yeah.
So what's been, I would say, because honestly, your career, super impressive, man. So like you said, like 15 years straight chiropractic. What's been the most rewarding moment in really treating athletes, right? And does it differ from that same kind of rewarding feeling of treating your everyday patient?
Actually, it's more rewarding for the everyday patient because and I think it's because the everyday patient has to rely only on me. Well, not just me, I got my team, but just, our practice.
Yeah.
Whereas, my professional athletes, I'm just a little, small piece of that cog. One of the things that we tell other, chiropractor students and whatnot that want to get in on a professional sports team is to know your
Mm,
lane. Just you're there to adjust. If you're asked to do something additional, you go ahead and, if it's within your scope, go ahead and do it. But you're
right.
really there in your own lane where with my regular patients, we're the ones that have control over the whole process. And so
Right.
that's the most rewarding is when, I have a young high school or college athlete that, they're injured. They're questioning if their career is over with already before it even starts. And they come in to see us. We, take them through our process. We treat them, we get them back on the field. And then, lo and behold, they get their scholarship or they go to the next level in professional sports. And
So
those
cool.
are, and I have those all the time. I have
Yeah.
golfers, I have, crew. I have, actually,
Really?
it's weird. I don't know if they send up smoke signals or something like that, but I have a bunch of golfers in now that are all like they're on the Corn Ferry Tour. They're trying to qualify for the PGA or whatever. And,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
what it is, one comes in and then they all talk to each other in the locker room saying, hey, I went to this
Yeah.
place, go check this place out. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's so cool. One question, you mentioned Life College. Is that
correct.
Life West?
No, Life University and is what it's
Okay.
called now in Marietta, Georgia.
Oh, okay, okay. I just actually, the reason I ask is because I just interviewed the VP of Life West out in
Mm,
Cali. So I was like, that would have been a cool connection to make there.
yeah. Right.
Cool, man. So many of your treatments combine really the only word I can really think of here is, or I guess I would say just cutting edge techniques. I've spoken to a lot of chiropractors that I would say shy away from anything new. And I love
Hmm.
seeing open minded chiropractors like yourself really say, okay, this could help, right? This could
Right.
supplement, this could, and so on. So I love that. There's
Hmm.
something called, I think, acoustic wave therapy. There's regenerative medicine. How do you stay at the forefront of just sports injury treatments? Because I mean, you're going to get bombarded with 10,000 things a day, I'm sure. Like, how do you
Oh God,
know and how
yes.
do you stay ahead of it all? So, if you can just fill us in on how you vet those things and what you do,
Right.
I don't, yeah, just if you can go ahead and explain that to us, that'd be great.
Well, I have the advantage of, again, being with the professional sports team. So, I'm just in that environment and that's, the Orioles in particular, they don't shy away from modalities. So you go into their training room and they have, gosh, everything under the sun, anything you can think of, they have as far as a modality. And it's, primarily because, hey, if this thing can help one of our patients get back to play earlier and, allow them to play at their peak capacity, then that gives them a chance to, win more games. So it really just comes
Mm,
down to that. So just being exposed to that is one. I'm also a member of the Professional Baseball Chiropractic Society and Hockey Society. So I'm involved in, I'm involved in that environment all the time and, we are able to collaborate and so forth. And
ah,
so really it's, I'll see a modality and of course, every salesman there's no shortage of salesmen that want to sell me a new
yeah,
device. And there's,
yeah,
they're always knocking on the door. And really it's well, one of the things that I do is anything that we do in the practice, as far as any treatment, as far as the, regenerative medicine or acoustic wave therapy or laser or whatever it is, I do myself first. I vet
mm,
it myself. And
got
so
it.
I've had stem cell injections. I've had prolotherapy. I've had, acoustic wave therapy and soft tissue
Mm,
work and whatnot. So I've had all of those treatments and I've had some that I'd like to bring in to the practice because I think they are a benefit. I've experienced it myself, but then I have to look and weigh that not just on a dollar and cents standpoint. Well, part of it has to be the dollar and cents standpoint, but to look at it, say, is this just a value add to what we're adding to the patient? Or is it really necessary to, treat something that, the other modalities have been ineffective with? And
Right.
so that's kind of how, at this point in the practice, that's how I evaluate things is I evaluate it from a true ROI, not the ROI that, they try to advertise to you, a true ROI and how it would affect my practice. And is that an extra benefit? So for example, I have people asking me all the time, hey, you have a massage therapist, you have a massage therapist. And I won't get a massage therapist from the standpoint, there's plenty of massage therapists out there. There's no shortage of massage therapists that we can send somebody to. And then, and then the other thing is if I have to take up an entire space in my office for a massage therapist, what kind of revenue can I generate from that room?
Right.
Really, as opposed to let me hire an
Great point.
associate chiropractor to come in and they can
Great
see,
point.
they can see triple the revenue out of that room. So,
Yeah.
you have to,
Yeah.
balance it out when you're a business owner
Absolutely.
and a practice owner on how to evaluate that. So,
Mm,
anyways,
great answer.
that's how I kind of define that and how I bring in different modalities.
Great. Love that, man. Great answer. Seriously, because sometimes we do have to put that hat on. I've spoken to so many chiropractors that and I love their heart. I really do because they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They want to help. They want to see people to a healthier life and kind of see them through their pain and whatnot. And that's wonderful. That's a great kind of catalyst. But I see so many practices fail because they take off that business hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to offer all these things because they want to help them. But then we really do have to think about not just their health, but that's number one. How can
Mm-hmm.
we also ensure that the business is still operating properly? Right. That
Right.
was just
Yep.
great answer. So thank you for that. All right. So I throw these
Mhm.
challenge questions at my chiropractors. I'm going to start throwing a few at you. Let's see. Let's
Okay.
see how you do. I give out gold stars, Dr. Kaufman. So you might get a gold
Okay.
star from me. So,
All right. Bring it
so,
on.
all right. So if you could share one key principle that guides your practice, what would it be?
Service.
Ooh,
Service and extraordinary experiences. So our whole
love
team
it.
is all wrapped around to, first of all, acting like a team. We all
Mm,
work together very, very well. And, right from the first phone call, if somebody calls the office, 99% of the time, you're going to get Joanna at the front desk.
mm,
And she can get you. She's very pleasant, is very eager to help, understands what we do, understands what our objectives are, understands what drives our patients. Again, it's not pain. It's getting back to, you know, and that's one of the questions she asks is,
yeah,
what kind of sport do you play? She asks some screening questions. And
yeah.
then, from my tech, everyone's offered some water or coffee. And I do it myself. If I'm walking through and there's somebody sitting there and they're, waiting on a treatment and, they don't have a water or coffee, I'm asking them and I'm getting it for them. So there's
Love it.
it's just, it's that extraordinary level of care and service that,
Yes.
patients know they're being taken care of and we really have their best interests at heart.
I love that. So I, I, I completely connect with what you just said because I actually have a training out there with for brand management. And it
Hmm.
really starts and it needs to be seamless. And it really starts from the moment your patient steps through that door. Like
Hmm.
if there's a foyer, every detail matters.
Hmm.
Your patient, the way your staff interacts with your patients, and it's all like critical. It's all part of that puzzle.
Hmm.
Even something as simple, like you just said it, coffee.
Yeah.
My chiropractor has a coffee station, and he's got water station. They'll put
Hmm.
like sometimes they'll put some fruit and like it's all these little things that make you feel
Yeah.
like they spent the time, they put the
Hmm.
detail into it because they want you to have a good experience. And of course, it all ends with the proper care that you need, but
Yeah. Yeah.
the environment really matters because it gets you in that mindset of, okay, I'm in a place of healing. I'm in a
Hmm.
place that cares about me. So That's really cool. I love that.
Well,
Great
yeah, and
answer.
the great thing is in our practice, oftentimes we'll have somebody that has been, well, most of the time they've already been through the orthopedic kind of process. They've gone and had to wait for 45, sometimes more minutes to even see the nurse practitioner, not even see the doctor.
Yeah.
And if it's a non-surgical case, the doctor just kind of brushes them off. They can't wait to get out of
Yeah.
the room, and it's a 2-minute conversation. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, they
Yeah.
have questions to ask. And so
Yeah.
when, I tell my team, I go, the bar is really low to provide good service. It's really low because
Yeah.
in the contrast from somebody coming from that environment to our environment is
Yeah.
completely different. It's like
Yeah.
180 degrees in the other direction.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that, man.
Hey,
I
yeah, no, I
walked
hear
that
you.
dude, I walked that exact path with my kids and their scoliosis. I think I shared that a little bit with you
Yeah,
on
that's
our
right. When you about
initial
that.
call. You're the exact scenario that you just painted
Mm.
was we were in the waiting room. It took us forever. We get in and the conversation was, let's let their curve get to 50 degrees and then we'll do
Yeah.
surgery. Come on. How does that even logically make sense? Like, how could you bring yourself to a place to even say something? Anyway, I get that. You're right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
lowest bar ever set in history. If you, yeah, if you just make the simplest effort, and I'm speaking to all my emerging DCs right now,
Yep.
make
Absolutely.
the smallest amount of effort to just care for your patient in a way that they've never been cared before. And it's as simple as walking up to them and shaking their hand and say, thanks for coming in. Let's see what we could do to help you.
Mhm.
It's really that simple, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, your words are perfect. It's a low bar. There's not much to do
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
So when you
I
exceed it,
oh yeah.
it's that much more impactful.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
actually started a coaching program, and one of the courses in there is actually called the $7,000 first visit. Where on the first
Okay.
visit, a patient can come in, never saw us before, and they're plunking down $7,000 to get
Yeah.
a stem cell program. But it takes a level of caring to be able to connect with that patient, and it all starts
Yeah.
with that consultation where you're really, really
Yeah.
listening. Because again, that's another
Yeah.
thing during a consultation that you know of course, when somebody calls an orthopedic office or a medical office in general, first question is, "What's your insurance?"
Right.
It's not like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's, "What's your insurance?"
No. No.
We don't take
No.
in, yeah, we don't take insurance, so
Yeah.
that we bypass that, and then in the
Yeah.
consultation and having that communication and actively listening to the patient. This is for the emerging DCs. Actually,
Mm.
really listening to what that patient values and listen to the value cues they give you to
Mm.
really connect what you're doing as far as your treatment and your care to what they value. And once you do that, then it's, they're right with you.
That's great. That's great. Awesome. So I've never spent so much time on a challenge question, by the way. So you
Okay.
get 10,
Okay.
10 gold stars, man. Like literally. No, I
Nice.
love it. The
Nice.
conversation's been awesome. All right. We touched a little bit about the therapies that you offer, right? So your practice, again, it's called Sarasota Sports Medicine, right? Is that the name of your practice? So you offer like just a wide range of therapies. You got IV nutrition to peptide therapy, if I'm
Yep.
even saying that. But how do you
Yep.
determine which treatment or combination of treatments really fit each patient?
That's a great question. We kind of have our standard thing where somebody comes in, they have a rotator cuff tear, and it's kind of your kind of average patient. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to do 5 laser treatments. We're going to do either a stem cell injection or a series of prolotherapy injections. We'll do 5 more laser treatments, and then we're doing corrective exercise. Pretty cut and dry. That one I can do in my sleep. Other times there's a little more complicated issues. So if it's somebody that's had, significant shoulder trauma, let's say they have, some more advanced osteoarthritis, we're going to add in some other modalities. So,
Mm,
we'll have our kind of basic treatments that we do, like the laser therapy and then the injection therapies and the corrective exercise. And then sometimes we kind of move along to, adding in something else through the course of their program because maybe they have
mm,
some additional scar tissue that's, contributing to their dysfunction. So maybe they need some Graston work and some soft tissue. Maybe they need some acoustic wave therapy. I'll give you a perfect example, and that's
please.
probably a better way to answer the question. And it kind of
Yeah.
parlays into the level of service that we provide. And that
Yeah.
we had a patient come in. She's a CrossFit nut, like I think borderline addicted, which is kind of like, one term equals the other. Anyways, she had a tear in her elbow, in her common flexor tendon of her elbow, right down in this area. She had a tear in there. So, she kind of went through our protocol. She did the laser therapy. She did 3 prolotherapy injections, more laser therapy. And she came in for a follow-up, and it was kind of over the holiday weekend or whatever. She was feeling a lot better, but she went and she did some squats, which puts a lot of pressure on that tendon, and it really hurt her elbow again. And so kind of talked to her, and come to find out, it wasn't that spot that was really hurting her, that original area. That tendon, it was healing up, and that wasn't the source of her pain. It was some arthritis that we knew was there, but we weren't sure how much that was contributing to her condition. But she had some more arthritis in the joint. So I said, well, why don't we do this? And she paid us, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 for her program. And so here she is, she needs some additional treatment. So I said, why don't we do like 3 shockwave treatments, and we'll do some laser on top of it. And let's get you in for a treatment or 2 with Dr. Torres, my associate, to do some Graston work, some soft tissue work. And I said, I'll do that on me, no charge, no additional charge. And so she was so thrilled. She got her first shockwave and laser treatment. She left that afternoon. Up until this point, we just provided what she paid for, but she gave us 5-star review and said, this place is fantastic because, we went the extra mile.
Went above and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I almost never offer any discounted, like, $47, new patient exam or anything. I never do that. But on the back end, when somebody is already committed and, and they need the care or need the additional treatment, we'll go ahead and do it because I tell my team, somebody is paying us not for the treatment, they're paying us for a result. And so if my prescribed treatment doesn't quite equal the result that I told them that we would work towards, then I'll go ahead and I'll absorb that cost to make sure that they get that result. So, and that's another level of service that new doctors really need to look at, is don't be afraid on the back end to give some services away, because they're already committed, and the guaranteed, if they injure themselves again someplace else, they're coming right back to you, and it happens all the time.
Yeah. Love that. That level of service is key, honestly, because we have that same scenario. My kids have 2 different chiropractors that they see. We have a specialist for their scoliosis, and he's phenomenal. He's unbelievable. Like we spent a lot of money with him, especially because they needed their scoli brace and all that. But we go see him a couple times, 2 to 3 times a year. He's not once charged me for those visits.
Yep.
What? And I'll show you my text with him. I'm like, what do I owe you for today? Send me an invoice. He's like, you don't want an invoice from me. I was like, but that alone just shows the heart of the chiropractor. And I think that's huge. So I love what you're doing. And the other piece is, so a lot of people, so I'm speaking from the patient side, right? We're so afraid to put down $5,000. We're afraid to put down $10,000. We're afraid because it's a lot of money, and I get it. Personally, so kids aside, okay? Because that's a different situation. It's a completely different bracket as far as spend when it comes to chiropractic. But for me personally, so now I say almost 2 years ago, because we're already in 2025. It's crazy. But in 2023, I had a really bad kind of inflammation throughout my body. Don't know what caused it. I was like for 2 weeks, I felt like 150 years old. And I went to my chiropractor. I was like, what the heck's going on? Help me out here. And I had to put down it was a solid like $5,700. Even knowing what chiropractic does, I hesitated.
Yeah, right.
But I put it down knowing that it's a solution. I did it. And within the first 3 visits, man, I felt like 100%. I had a long way to go, but I didn't feel 150. I was 70 now. So it's crazy. I love that you're doing that. And when patients commit, practices should commit to the patients, right?
Absolutely.
They're spending 100%. A lot of money. Yeah. And you want them. Yeah. I love that. You mentioned laser therapy, which I've actually done as well for my knees and have seen amazing results from it. But could you explain how it actually accelerates the healing and maybe a good use case for it?
Yeah. So a good use case would be basically any area of pain, shoulder, back, elbows. We do a lot of laser therapy. The way it works is the high power, and we do class 4 laser therapy. There's several different, and I'll briefly go over the technology of it. There's, your class 1 laser is like your laser pointer. Okay.
Mm,
And then there's class 2, class 3, and 3B lasers. So your 3 lasers are kind of like your infrared mats, things of that nature, not infrared, just red light mats. And then you have your class 3B laser, which are more into the therapeutic realm. Those lasers, retail cost is like, $3,000, $4,000, $2,500, somewhere around in that range. And they go up to class 3B goes up to 500 milliwatts of power. And the milliwattage is how much light can you get in a dose in a given period of time.
mm,
So and then anything over that is considered class 4 laser. So the
mm.
first laser I started off with was a maximum of 10,000 milliwatts of power. The laser we have now is 40,000 milliwatts of power. So,
Wow.
and then once you get over, and I never use it at 40,000 milliwatts of power because it's too hot. But really, once you get into the class 4 laser up into the 10,000 milliwatts of power or thereabouts, then it becomes important on the wavelength of light, because the wavelength has different tissue penetration depths and different effects on the tissue. But the primary effect is that it increases mitochondrial activity at the cellular level. So the mitochondria is the, energy center for the cell, and the
Hmm.
fuel is ATP, adenine
Okay.
triphosphate. Okay. So the infrared light affects the mitochondria very, very much like sunlight affects the plants and the cells of the plants. It increases the energy of those cells. And then
Mm,
in the human body, the the physical effects is that it increases circulation,
hmm,
it decreases swelling, it
hmm.
decreases pain, and it increases range of motion of a joint. So those are that's the effect of laser on a physical level, and then generally how it works on a biologic level. It's called
Mm.
photobiomodulation. It's where the photons of the light, how it affects the mitochondria of the cells.
Cool, man. Yeah, and I was on the receiving end of that. My knees were like shot. That thing was like magic. So
Yeah.
all the stuff that you just explained with those fancy words, I
Hmm.
sum up with it works.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. There you go.
okay, peptide therapy. Just I want to understand a little bit of what that is, the
Sure.
benefits of it, and how you incorporate it with your patients, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. So peptides are short chains of amino acids as opposed to full proteins. So what they've known for a long time is peptides act as catalysts in the body. The most well-known peptide is insulin.
Mm,
So people give themselves insulin injections if they're diabetic. And so that's, peptides, that's how they work. From a sports medicine perspective, there's 2 primary peptides, one in particular that we use, and that's called BPC 157. Stands for Body
okay.
Protection Compound 157. It's actually isolated from the secretions of the stomach. And what the BPC 157 does is it helps support connective tissue. So if somebody has a soft tissue injury, which is virtually everybody that we treat, they can benefit from peptides. So the BPC 157 can be delivered orally, which is not as effective unless it's purely for digestive problems. So they have, leaky gut, diverticulitis, gastritis, intestinal problems and whatnot. Oral BPC 157 is very beneficial. People that have
Okay.
celiac disease or non-celiac gluten sensitivities and things of that nature. In sports medicine, we utilize a subcutaneous injection that's given with a 30 gauge needle. It's like an insulin needle, and it's a daily injection that our nurse practitioner teaches our patients how to give themselves. And so what that does is it helps to, the overall effect is it works. Okay. To put it in your terms. So, but what it does is it helps to modulate inflammation and helps to support the connective tissue.
Mm,
Oftentimes we'll have patients come in that, they have a actual rotator cuff tear or they have osteoarthritis, and they want to get peptides. And I explain to them the peptides will be somewhat beneficial at maybe helping to control some discomfort and pain, but it's not going to heal that torn ligament or torn tendon or the arthritis. And so for those patients, we will typically move them on to like a stem cell injection or prolotherapy, and use peptides on the back end later on as more of a supportive maintenance thing. And then for any of our, 45-year-old and up athletes and guys like me trying to hang on, the BPC 157 is a great peptide for recovery. So that in combination with like some red light therapy and, those types of things are really a good thing to help speed up that recovery process following training and competition.
Awesome. So you're obviously on we'll call it the future end of chiropractic. I feel like you are open to these new ideas. You're open to these new therapies, and you're researching them, and you're applying
Hmm.
them, and you're seeing results. So you
Yep.
being around all these things, I'm going to throw another challenge question at you. What if you could introduce one new therapy to your practice tomorrow, whether in existence or not? What would it be and why?
PEMF,
Ooh,
electropulse
what's
magnetic
that?
therapy. Basically it uses, magnets and magnetism to, remember we were talking with laser therapy about increasing the activity of the mitochondria.
Yeah.
This does it through a different pathway and can have additional effects. So PEMF is actually one of the modalities that, I'm evaluating to bring in. In fact,
Nice.
PEMF, I had a conversation with him 2 days ago. And what they're going to do, they're going to have their rep come in. They're a sponsor of the Professional Baseball Chiropractic Society, and I'm on their
Mm,
media. I'm like their media. I forget what my title is. I have like some title. I don't even know what it is, but I help with their media and take video. I'm their MC and
yeah.
during events and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But Pulse PEMF is a sponsor, and they're trying to get more sales. So I'm inviting them to come into the office with a unit. I'm going to get some patients, and we're going to do some film and some media stuff for them I'm also going to have them on our podcast and whatnot to talk about PEMF, but that would be the one modality I would bring in. Again, I'm still kind of evaluating, is it just going to be a value add? Is it, really necessary? And I'm thinking I have a few patients in particular I want to come in and kind of test it on with their permission, of course, to see
Yeah.
if they get some accelerated healing and some better results. So
Awesome. You have my permission. I'll be there day one. Okay. Your whole motto, treating everyday people like
you
pros
don't have
and
to be a
so
pro to
on.
be
So
treated like one.
I wish I could memorize that, because honestly, that could be applied in so many other arenas as well.
Yeah.
But how do you tailor your treatments to really meet the unique needs of non-professional patients? Someone like me walks in, I'm on a different journey than a pro athlete is. You have,
Hmm.
so here's why I'm asking the question. Let me just give you a little background. So you have access to state of the art equipment. You walk into the Pirates and Orioles and what have you. You have access to all these state of the art equipment to help treat these athletes. You go back to your practice, you have cutting edge therapies, but I would say less than what you have access to within a professional athlete environment. Me walking in, again, different journey, right? My little gut here, trying to get rid of it. Actually, I plug this all the time, but I lost 100 pounds. It's been a journey, but
Oh,
um,
good for
but
you.
but like, thank you, sir. But I'm on a different journey, right? So now I'm
Hmm.
stuck, and I have lower back pain, and my rotator cuff is, but like, how do you tailor to someone like myself when I walk in through your door?
Exactly the same as I would tailor it to a professional athlete, because they
Okay,
have the same issues, exact same
okay,
issues, maybe a different cause, but maybe there's a different motivational drive between you and a professional athlete. It's different, but it's still just as valid. So,
mm,
you want to get out and play with your kids and, be able to, go to the gym and get a workout in, or, continue your journey of losing weight or whatever it is. That's still just as valuable to you as a professional athlete is to get back out on the field. Yes, it's their profession. That's how they make a living and that type of thing. But the motivation it's different, but it's no more valuable in a professional athlete than an existing patient. So I
mm,
would treat you exactly like I would treat a professional athlete. Is I
yeah,
had obviously we have different expectations, a different timeline. of, how fast something's going to happen. And, we have to have that expectation management of, how soon are you going to be able to get back in the gym, for example. But there's no difference. I treat every patient just like they're a pro athlete.
And do you feel like the mental state of the patient enhances, or I would say delays, improvement?
Oh,
Can that
100%.
happen?
Yeah. Just like anything else. If the patient is, I don't want to say doubtful,
Skeptic?
even skeptical, because one of my best, kind of testimonials is a guy that came in that had a torn groin muscle. Yeah.
Mm,
I get the willies even thinking
ouch.
about it. He was a softball
Yeah.
player, or he is
Mm,
a senior softball player, but he torn his groin muscle. And while I was doing his consultation, going over his MRI that he had already had done, it was his first time in the office. And then he was like, well, I also have this weird thing with my shoulder. I think I have a rotator cuff tear. And, anyway, so he was one that sat down and I was with him. And, most patients have a lot of questions. So if I'm talking about, a stem cell therapy program and PT and all this, especially in his case, we're doing 2 body parts. His was, I think, a $12,000 or $13,000 program. And
mm,
we sat there for a minimum of an hour and he had
mm,
all these questions. He kept peppering me with questions. So I kept answering the questions. And then he was, his words were kind of deciding if he was going to do the program or not. He goes, I can't believe I just walked in here. I just met you and I'm I'm plunking down 13 grand to get care. And I said, hey, there's no guarantees, but you're in the right place. And so now he's my
absolutely.
biggest testimonial. And he always tells
Mm,
people, hey, I was a skeptic. I was not sure this was going to work. But if somebody is just completely negative about it and they haven't bought into it, they're just not going to sign up. They're not going to start a program simply because they haven't bought into it right away. And
mm,
so, by the time somebody kind of buys in, they're already committed. And
yeah.
and they're already, even though they may be skeptical, though they may just be hopeful and they're not quite sure if it's
Yeah.
going to work, they're at least like focused on that improvement, as opposed to
Yeah.
somebody else that's like, oh, that's not going to work, so they're not going to
Right.
even sign up. So that's kind of
Right.
where, that difference happens right away. If somebody's not committed,
Yeah.
they're not going to start. If they are committed, they're going to start, you know what I mean? And they'll
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
and that's why we have so many 5-star reviews from our patients and such great results. It's because we only take the ones that are really committed to getting better and are motivated to do it.
Question for you. A little comparison here. For those that deal with common injuries like plantar fasciitis or tennis
Hmm.
elbow, how do therapies like the acoustic wave therapy or
Hmm. Yep.
um, and or corrective exercises compare to more traditional treatments?
Yeah. So, I mean, with, tennis elbow, plantar fasciitis, usually, in my opinion, the advice they're given is wrong. They're given, sometimes cortisone injections or they're given anti-inflammatory medications. And so, my whole process is to, get their body working. So things like we usually combine acoustic wave therapy with laser therapy with the intent of using the acoustic wave therapy to, break up adhesions, break up scar tissue, increase circulation from a mechanical standpoint from the sound waves, and then use
Mm,
laser therapy to increase the mitochondrial activity, increase circulation through the photobiomodulation.
right. Gotcha. So this is a boat that I was in at one point with my children. We wanted to avoid
Mhm.
surgery, right? That was our kind
Yeah.
of driving factor. So I'm sure a lot of patients come to you as a second opinion, right, to avoid
Yep.
surgery. What's your process for evaluating and really offering a non-surgical alternative?
A lot of times by the time that patient comes in, they've already been to the orthopedist, they've already had an MRI. Sometimes even before they come in, if it's at a local independent radiology center, we're on all their systems. So I can pull their
Mm,
MRIs up. I know what I'm dealing with right away before they even come in. And so take them through the normal consultation and examination process. And, if it's a case that that I think we can help with, I'll just kind of go through the same process, explain. Now, those are actually the easier. I don't want to say easier, but it takes less effort and there's less pushback
mm,
because they're already looking for a non-surgical solution. I don't have to,
Right.
talk about their, 6 months of, inactivity and downtime and rehab that they have to go through for a rotator cuff surgery. But I don't have to address that, but I address, how the process is that they can maintain a normal level of activity. There's no downtime. And this is the process that will follow. And for your, the new docs that are coming on that are listening, having that certainty and that confidence, in your care plan is absolutely critical. So, but that's the, there's really, yeah, I just take them through the same process, just
Right.
an easier process to take the patient through.
Because they've already seen what the medical route has to offer. So they're like,
Correct.
yeah, we don't like that route. I need
Yeah.
something else.
Well, I had
Uh,
a couple weeks, yeah, a couple weeks ago, he's a SEAL, Navy SEAL, and he's
nice.
had cervical spine fusion, lumbar spine fusion, 2 surgeries on the right shoulder, 1 surgery on the left shoulder, and he retore this shoulder. And he's like, I don't want to go through another surgery. And, had already had the MRI, already went through everything. And so he came in and I sat down. Here's what it's, here's what it is. Here's how much it costs. And he was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, I don't know." And I just sat there and kind of let him process it through. And he's like, "Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's start."
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
those are, I don't want to say it's not easy. It's just, it's much simpler because they
Yeah.
already know what the alternative is. I don't have to tell them
Yeah.
that.
And I think people are starting to wake up to there are alternative solutions
Mm,
that should have been the primary solution. I
correct.
think we're all waking up to that today, which
Hmm.
is good. We want
Yeah,
chiropractic to soar. That's what our goal is here. All right.
absolutely.
No, no, another challenge question for you. So, what's the one piece of advice you'd give someone sidelined by an injury, but really eager to return back to their sport?
Well, that's a multifaceted question. So if somebody is sidelined from an injury, okay, I got the perfect answer, I think. So this
Yeah.
is particularly true with younger athletes where, they've been, playing their sport. And unfortunately in Florida, they're playing their sport year round. They don't take a break. The number one risk factor for orthopedic pediatric surgeries is early childhood specialization. So they start playing baseball at 5 and they play, and that's what they decide they're going to do, or their parents decide they're going to do. They don't cross train. They don't take any time off. They don't play in other sports like soccer or football or anything like that. They just dedicate themselves to baseball. And that's the number one risk factor for overuse injuries. It just makes sense.
Mhm.
So when I'm dealing with a youth athlete in particular that's sidelined, I tell them, you can either look at this as, oh, woe is me, and be negative about it, or there's always other things that you can work on to get yourself better. And I would
Right.
have the outlook of, okay, I'm going to go through this 3-month process or 4-month process or whatever the length of time it is, and I'm
Yeah.
going to get better in X, So if it's a golfer and they're laid up, you know, everybody can benefit from some chipping and putting, but you can't take a
Yeah.
full swing. So
Right.
you can look at it as this is going to be, I'm going to be set back. I'm going to lose my position on the team. I'm not going to get my team on the high school team. Or you can look at it, okay, what can I do to improve myself in other areas that I'm not limited in
Mhm.
to be able to come back stronger, better, and faster, that I'll leapfrog other people. And that's usually what happens if they really take that approach. They'll literally get themselves so much better in other areas, and they'll be so much stronger that they leapfrog other people that have been continuing to play.
That's good. It's a mindset thing in
Hmm.
every area of our life. So when we get, knocked down, whether it's an injury or, something traumatic that happens in our life, the way we look at it and the way we kind of drudge and walk through it really determines how we come out on the other side. So I love that piece
Absolutely.
of advice. I love
Hmm.
that. I love that. All right, this is the fun part for me. So I want to talk a little bit about the business and the marketing. This is the stuff where my hands get dirty on a daily basis. So I love getting different perspective from different chiropractors. I
Hmm.
think it also helps the emerging DCs that are trying to open up their own practices as well. So Sarasota Sports Medicine really emphasizes professional level care for all. We've been talking
Hmm.
about this, right?
Yep.
So how do you differentiate your practice in what's becoming now a really competitive healthcare market? And if you can answer that twofold, if you don't mind. When I say healthcare market, you have the medical industry that's actually trying to stomp on the chiropractic industry, but then you
Hmm.
also have the chiropractic industry that is competing within itself.
Okay. That's it. And I had actually written down a note for the emerging DCs, and I'll answer this in a way that's the second point that you brought up, and that is the chiropractors competing. The thing that I've discovered and that has been very, very effective is the fact that, we offer services that most other chiropractors don't. Okay.
Okay.
Regenerative medicine, peptides, most chiropractors don't provide those services. We have a network of chiropractors that refer to us to be able to provide our services, and we co-treat that patient, much like your sons and your two docs. We co-treat the patient. So if we have several chiropractors that will refer their rotator cuff pain patients cases to us, which is nice because they evaluate them. They say, hey, you have a rotator cuff, go to this guy. He's helped a
Yeah.
bunch of our patients. That's like picking apples off the ground because those patients they were referred by somebody they already trust. And,
Right.
and we won't take that patient as a chiropractic patient in our practice.
Mm.
We say, we encourage them to go back to them because they've been under that care. We'll treat this, but then we'll co-treat that patient. And that goes
Awesome.
also in the medical realm. So I would encourage chiropractors to not be afraid to get out and talk to other professionals,
Mm.
orthopedics, because, it was bad before. And right now it's a lot better. There's a lot, some of the younger docs, I have coffee and lunch and communicate with medical doctors all the time, neurologists, orthopedists,
Oh, that's great.
orthopedic surgeons. I do that because I refer people to them.
Mm.
I had, one kid, he's an MMA fighter, and he tore his Achilles
Mm.
tendon, completely tore it and retracted it. So I sent him up to my guy in Bradenton, up there. Fantastic results. So I would encourage those doctors to not think of it as a competition. Yes, there's some docs. I mean, I got some posts and stuff on Facebook and stuff, some ads and so forth. And I always get some medical doctor or radiologist or something saying, "Oh yeah, this is unproven technology." Da da da. Whatever. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Actually, the more I get
Yeah.
that, the more I enjoy it because I know I'm reaching
Right.
out there and I'm because
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
pleasing everybody, you're not really being effective. So
Brilliant.
I would encourage those emerging doctors to not be afraid to get out and network with other chiropractors and network with other other professions. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, you're going to get rejected by a few, but it doesn't matter. If you can
Yeah.
develop a really good, sound network of primary care physicians, naturopath doctors, acupuncturists, a whole line of different practitioners, because we, the one, when you first get out of school, you think you can help everybody and you market yourself as I can help everybody. But when you market to everybody, you speak to nobody. Nobody
Mm.
knows what you do because you think you're just like, you can cure everything. And so from a marketing standpoint, it's highly critical to really niche yourself into one specific market. So for example, when I started doing laser therapy, I marketed myself as the shoulder laser guy. I was the laser
Okay.
doctor. If you have shoulder pain, come to me because we could get
Yeah.
results. But that's what I did. Then invariably, the patient would come in and they'd say, they'd see results with this and they'd say, "Hey, does this help with knees too? Because my wife's got runner's knee." "Oh, absolutely." There you got a new patient. But you really have to niche yourself because you're not limiting your market, you're expanding your market because when you're speaking to that group of people, now you've casted actually a wide net to a very specific
Mm.
group. It's much more effective. But that being said, that plays into having a referral network where you can refer other people. So I refer to other chiropractors all the time where, a patient comes in and they don't like, or they're not a candidate for manual adjusting, but I'll refer them to somebody that does activator. I don't do decompression in my office, but I have people that I can refer that do decompression, just like, and then the orthopedists and then the naturopath doctors and the holistic physicians and the different professions.
Right.
And once you do that, now you're cooking with gas because the patient
For
looks
sure.
at it as, hey, this guy's not just trying to, you know, trying to keep me as a patient, not trying to cure everything, but he's a great
Yeah.
resource. And we
Yeah.
get patients that are inactive patients calling us saying, "Hey, who do you know that's a good neurologist in town?" And so we'll go ahead and make that referral. And you become that, kind of expert. And again,
Yeah.
it's that level of service. It goes back to that level of
Yeah.
service that the patients will come back for.
Yeah. I think
Did I
that's
answer the
good. That's
question?
that. Yeah, it did. So it also expanded because I feel like a lot of chiropractors try to be the be all end all.
Hmm.
And that's really dangerous because, in my opinion, personal opinion here, that's like borderline malpractice sometimes because you're treating somebody that you can't really provide them the exact care that they need. Now, you could be part
Exactly.
of their care plan. We do need to think outside the box and figure out what works for them. So, going back a little bit to your cutting edge therapies, right? Like peptide treatments, acoustic wave therapy, all that. It's unfamiliar to a lot of us. How do you and you just mentioned one of your ads, you're the laser shoulder guy or something. I forget the
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
the shoulder guy or something. So how do
Right.
you really educate patients to build that trust? Because this is weird. It's weird. It's new. Like how do you
Hmm.
highlight the value of these treatments?
So actually, I don't advertise. Well, outside of some exceptions but the main part of our marketing is really, now we market for shoulder pain, knee pain, and elbow pain. So we do run
Okay.
Google ads, and it's,
Yep.
pretty much the whole thing of it is non-surgical rotator cuff repair, non-surgical, knee meniscus tear, not non-surgical, avoid the knee replacement with, yeah. So because again, you're speaking to that group of patients. So you're speaking to
Right.
patients that have knee pains. Okay? And the
Yeah.
and the reason why we do Google ads that way is because people are actually on Google searching for knee
Exactly.
pain. Yeah, that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest keyword. So they're searching
Mm-hmm.
for that particular thing. So we're
Mm-hmm.
speaking to that target demographic. And then it is, it's a, landing page,
Of
with
course.
our testimonials and all that type of thing. And we don't go into too much depth of what treatments that we do, other than the fact we'll highlight that we do, this regenerative medicine service, we do class for laser
Yeah.
therapy and how it
Yeah.
works and that type of thing. But it's not like any in-depth thing. So the
Okay.
motivation for patients that are responding to that are coming in because they have a particular problem. We've had good
Underlying
results
issue.
because of our
Yeah.
testimonials. And so I'm going to go to this guy and see what he has to say. So, and it's
Yeah.
then where, they, realize that I don't want to say trustworthy, but they trust us because they've had a good experience. They know that we're trying to come up with a solution. I'm connecting with them and I'm providing a solution that matches their values and what they value. And so
Yeah.
that's really how and I take people, and I've actually created a bunch of videos on this, for Facebook ads and stuff on, stem cell therapy. What are the different types of stem cell and how do they work? And so I'll do some videos on that. But when I'm in a consultation, and actually the videos just match what I say in a consultation, is, how peptides work. So how I explain how the BPC 157 works is exactly
Yeah.
how I explain that to a patient. And it's exactly how I did the video. So that's really how I go about it. And then from a social media marketing standpoint,
Yeah.
it's, advertising for stem cell therapy. Or one of the things that we're doing right now is regenerative medicine. They get a free download by when they respond to the ad, they can, give us their email address and they get a free download, alternatives to surgery with regenerative medicine or not. I forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so it's like a
Okay.
5-6 page download, but then it puts them in a funnel sequence of emails and invites them either to come in or to come to a seminar, so
Yeah.
those are the types of things that we're doing. I'm going to expand, other lead magnets, so to speak, on,
Hmm.
rotator cuff repair and, shoulder pain and those types of things. So, we can reach people in a different way.
Yeah. Love it. That's good. That's how I even approach my own business, right? The way I will market it to the chiropractic industry is here's a high level of what I do. Here's what
Hmm.
the results that you're going to get. But as far as the ingredients of making the sauce, yeah, I'll tell you every single thing that you want to know about it. But that's not going
Hmm.
to be in an ad. That's not going to attract anyone.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Right.
Most people
Yeah.
that I work with don't even care how I do it. The fact that they're
Yeah.
getting patients walking through their door is what's
Hmm.
important. So The same
Right.
thing with patients. They don't really care what equipment you're using because when
Yeah.
they walk in through your door and they want to get healed and they're seeing
Hmm.
results, that's really all that matters at the end of the day. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's
love
one
your
of
answer.
that's one of the pitfalls that new practitioners fall into because they,
Mhm.
there's a salesman, then they, see this piece of equipment and they say, oh yeah,
Yeah,
your patients will love this. And then they start advertising that particular thing.
right.
Most patients have no clue and you
Yeah,
said it right. They don't care how you
yeah.
get them better. They just want you to get them better.
Yeah. They just want to
Yeah.
get them better. Exactly.
Yeah.
Testimonials and the success stories is what I'm looking after, right? Like those of
Hmm.
a pro athlete or, again, a weekend warrior or, right. There, it's a powerful marketing tool, right?
Hmm.
The testimonials themselves. How do you
Right.
approach collecting those stories, the testimonials, the success stories, and then showcasing them?
Yeah. So if you go to our website, at the bottom, I have a widget that's automatically connected to our Google business reviews. So
Yeah.
those that automatically updates, on a regular basis. So
Hmm.
those reviews show up there. And then, then what we'll do is, the occasional patient. Now I never ask for testimonials from professional athletes. It's a unwritten rule that you don't get.
Yeah.
So when you're working with professional athletes, you don't ask them for testimonials and you don't ask them for autographs. It's,
Right.
if they want to give you one, that's fine. But now, you see jerseys in the background or a jersey in the background.
Yeah.
I'll ask them, hey, can I get a jersey? Cause if they're in a heightened state of, hey, this is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, would you mind, providing me a jersey? I can add it to my collection. And
Yeah.
honestly, most of them, they are willing to give you one as long as you're not going to try to sell it. If they think you're gonna
Right.
try to sell it, they don't like that because,
Right.
anyways, and then just, taking video testimonials from those patients that are just so excited
Right.
about,
Right.
they're in a heightened state of appreciation. So, hey, would you do a little video testimonial on your experience? And they're
Yeah.
they're more than happy to do it. So,
Yeah. That's one of the things I recommend. Like, you're never going to get a testimonial if you're not going to ask.
yeah.
Especially of those patients that, are really seeing a difference in their health because of your care. It's okay to ask. It's okay. You shoot them a quick
Mhm.
text message. Hey, would you mind leaving us a quick review? Um,
Yeah, we
even if you
actually
get
have that
2%
automated
of them.
in our
Yeah.
yeah. We
Yeah.
we have that automated in our software. So after
Right.
the patient's, I don't know, second visit or third visit or whatever, they
Yeah.
automatically get a text message to, leave a
Yeah.
review or let us know if we didn't meet your expectations type of thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So digital outreach is becoming increasingly vital
mhm,
in the healthcare industry. So how has your website, your online booking, maybe the exercise video library really helped
mhm.
connect with patients and expand your reach?
Yeah, through the ads that we do and just our regular SEO and our, where we show up on Google. Every page of our website has been optimized. So, well, it's always a work in progress, but the every page has a link to book online and to call the office. So depending on what that particular, viewer wants to do, but really, I think it's providing a website that provides some good solid information of, good content. It all always comes
Yeah,
down to content. You have to have good
sure.
content on the website. You have to have good
Yeah,
content on your social media posts. You have to bring some value to people so that, they see that. And my wife was on my case to do video for social media forever. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right. So finally I started to really, really kind of, dedicate some time to it. And it really has made a big difference on our traffic and leads and
right.
patients coming in and, it's interesting that I noticed that when I started to market to where somebody could download a free PDF, a free ebook or whatever, that it actually increased the number of people that were just calling the office and scheduling an appointment, as opposed
Yeah,
to they'll download it and then, we got to take them through like 5 emails in order for them to either opt out or,
yeah,
and, now it's like, they see it and they're like, oh, they do stem cell therapy. I'm going there. And, they just go ahead and
right.
schedule and come in. Yeah.
Cool. I think one thing that's starting to get a little lost, specifically in the chiropractic industry, because of the digital age that we're in, is the community engagement. I think those are still important in my opinion, right? Like the work that you do with the local athletic organizations.
Mm.
How has that played a role in growing your practice?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because last night I did a workshop at a local Pilates studio. In
Mm.
fact, it's a, Club Pilates is a, chain. It's a franchise operation, and there's 4
Yep.
locations in kind of my general area. And so they've actually, now I'm the official, sports medicine facility or chiropractor or whatever for all 4 of those locations. So,
Nice.
it was an injury prevention workshop. But yeah, you have to get out in the community and, so one of the number one questions that new practitioners that are interested in getting into sports medicine, well, really, they're not
Mhm.
necessarily interested in getting into sports medicine. They're interested in getting on with a professional sports team. And,
Mhm.
the long and the short of it is that's going to come after you're prepared and you prep for the opportunity and taking advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself. If you, purposely go out trying to knock on doors to get into a professional sports team, that door is going to get slammed in your face most often, unless you know somebody. If know somebody, if you know the head athletic trainer and you're a shoe in, then that's how it's going to happen. But really, it's
Mhm.
about, positioning yourself so that when the opportunity comes up, you take advantage of it. So we always tell our new graduates that are interested in working with sports teams is to volunteer for your local high school, volunteer for the local little league. For a while there, I started like a little side business called Athletic Trainer on Demand. So I had like a
Mm.
whole book of athletic trainers. And when there was any kind of event, a marathon, a softball tournament, a frisbee tournament, disc golf, whatever it was, they have to have, if you're on county land in Florida, if you're on county property, you have to have certified medical staff on there
Oh,
available. And so
okay.
I would, go ahead and I would, it wasn't a money making thing. It was a way to be able to expand my network in these sporting communities. So those are just some, that's just one of many things that you can do in the community.
Sure.
Joining the Chamber of Commerce and being active in all of those things. Again, networking with other chiropractors and then other physicians that are outside of chiropractic, I think is essential. One
Mm.
bit of advice that I don't do enough of, I should do this more. I guess if I was doing a lot of personal injury work, that I would do this, but I don't do any. So is getting the names of like a primary care physician or an orthopedist that a patient has seen. And then once you go through your process and you do your exam and you start treatment on them, basically type up a narrative with a couple of business cards and a cover letter that says, hey, we're co-treating this patient. Here are my notes. And then you send that to that orthopedist or that primary care physician. And that's a
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
to really increase because after, they may not do anything, for the first 3 or 4 patients that you send
Mhm.
information on. But after a while, they're going to see a trend of patients saying, hey, I'm really doing better. This chiropractor really has helped me because it opens up an opportunity for that physician to have a conversation with that patient. And even if it's a skeptical doctor or one of these doctors that's anti-chiropractic, it's going to open that line of communication because if you're not communicating, then, you're not going to have a relationship. But at least if you're
Yeah.
communicating and sending notes that are professionally written, professionally organized, and this is the results that you're getting with the patient, it's going to maybe change the way they're thinking about what you're doing and what your service is. So that's another tactic that certainly a new practitioner would really benefit from and to really be able to develop this relationship outside of chiropractic and dealing with as a new practitioner and as a chiropractor, you don't want people going to the medical doctor. You don't want them getting drugs.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter
Yeah.
is, unless that patient is like read up and understands they don't want to take the drugs and take the medications, they're gonna go to the medical doctor. So it's better to have that relationship. And it's not like you're
Mhm.
selling out because that's what I was taught as a life grad. You're selling out if you're dealing with a medical doctor. You're not selling out. You're providing an opportunity for that professional to see your professionalism and that you're the real deal and you're not just some chiropractor. You're not just cracking backs.
Great answer, man. Let me ask you this. Here's a challenge question for you. If you could offer one piece of advice to healthcare pros looking to grow their business, really while maintaining that exceptional patient care, which is the bedrock of it all,
hmm
what would it be?
That would be to become the best in your particular niche or your ideal patient. Again, kind of
Okay.
going back as, you think you can help everybody. you need to, and I, tell my young chiropractors and chiropractors, you need to really kind of not niche yourself, but really determine who is your ideal patient. Who is it
Mm-hmm.
that you really, really like working with? And then
Mm-hmm.
when you have that in your mind and write it down, become the expert at treating that type of patient. So if you're,
Mm.
it's easy to go back. What did you do in high school and college? Were you a softball player? Were you a triathlete? Were you a marathon? Whatever, what was it that you gravitated toward? What kind of activity it was that you did that you enjoyed? And then
Mm-hmm.
take and, work with those patients, because you can really speak to them because you've done that. You've been a
Yep.
marathon runner. You understand that. So take that ideal patient, become the expert at
Mm-hmm.
treating as many things as you can that a marathon runner would come up with. So hip
Mm-hmm.
pain, runner's knee or patellar tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, stress fractures in the foot, whatever that is, and then model your
Mm-hmm.
practice to be able to treat all those different types of conditions. That's the most common. So niche yourself as a professional and, have that communication, provide the great level of service so that they really feel a great experience when they come into you, get the
Mm.
results. And then this is not one piece of advice, by the way,
It's
and
okay.
get the results. And then as you become the expert in that, and you start to grow a business, you have to, and I guess this would really be the one piece of advice, is really run your business as a business. And,
Mm.
as chiropractors, we don't get really any training in business.
Right.
They're exceptional doctors, but they don't know how to run a
Right.
business. They really have to
Right.
look at their
Agreed.
PIs. They really have to look at their profitability. They have to
Yeah.
evaluate financially when it's going to be appropriate to bring in a modality or bring on an extra expense or bring on
Right.
another staff person. So the one
Right.
piece of advice would be to really look at your business as it is, and it's a business.
Right.
You have to run it as a business, or otherwise you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to take care of the patients that you want to take care of.
Yeah. And
I
again,
guess
that's
that
like
was a
that.
I
No,
rambled
all
on a
good,
little bit.
man.
Yeah.
Not at all. This is great. No, it's good information. One of the things you mentioned was treat that one piece of advice, treating your business as a business, I think is key
Hmm.
because, and you also mentioned that chiropractors don't really get that training or that knowledge that they need injected during
Hmm.
their time in chiropractic school. And it's where I come in, right? Let me
Hmm.
give myself a little plug here, right? Because
Okay.
if
Mm.
so
Enough about
if
me.
you hire eh, if you hire someone like myself, which it's not an easy decision, I know, but if you hire someone like myself, you're now not worried about the marketing aspect. You're not worried about how to bring in new patients. You're just focused on your patient care. And it's the same
Mhm.
thing with every other facet within your business. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You've hired cyber adjustment. Great. You've got that marketing down packed. Your website's taken care of. Your patients are walking through the door. Your social media is awesome. Whatever. Wonderful. That's just one facet of your business. Then you really have to look at every other facet because you've got billing, right? You might
Mhm.
suck at that too. You might have to start thinking about how do I outsource some of the things that I don't want to do or can't
Mhm.
do well, so
It's a
that I can
time suck.
focus on what I do know. Yeah. What's taking your time? What can you set aside so you can focus on your patients, so you can focus on that elite care that you want to provide for your patients. So I want to speak a little bit about the future of sports medicine. Regenerative medicine is a big focus in your
Great.
practice. Where do you see this field heading in the next decade or so?
Well, I think in general, the advantage that we have of, having the exposure with professional sports from a chiropractic, just a general practitioner standpoint, I think is fantastic, simply because the the exposure that we get, and that validation that we get, that sports teams are employing chiropractors in NFL and NHL and Major League Baseball. In fact, this past season was the first year that all 30 Major League Baseball teams had a chiropractor on staff. So, that in the whole history. In fact, interesting little tidbit is the very first athletic trainer for the New York Yankees was actually a
Mm.
chiropractor, but you can look that up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
interesting.
pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways, and as far as regenerative medicine is, I think, just a fantastic way for chiropractors to expand their practices, if that's what their objective is, treat more people, but to really, really be on that cutting edge. And let's face it, most chiropractors are, outside the box thinkers compared
Hmm.
to, the medical profession. Um,
Yes, agreed.
yeah, the medical profession, and by and large, the medical doctors know more and more about less and less. They've become highly, highly specialized. I always say a joke that, I went into my orthopedist to get my elbow looked at. And he didn't treat my right elbow. He only treated left elbows, so it's highly, highly specialized. So, and that's to the detriment, because the human body does not
Yeah.
work in isolation. And so the chiropractors are in a unique position to be able to really have a tremendous impact in helping people, because, consider this statistic. Only about 10% of any orthopedic visits require
Uh-huh.
surgery. So
Right.
and then the only other alternative they have for sports injuries is cortisone injections, pharmaceutical drugs, and maybe some physical therapy. That doesn't address partial tears, instances where somebody can have surgery, doesn't want surgery. And then, the argument could be made that out of that 10% that do have surgery, or quote unquote require surgery, how many actually do require surgery? So
Right.
there's a huge market, and there's a demand for regenerative medicine services, or at least non-surgical solutions for people to heal
Right.
from rotator cuff repairs, knee meniscus tears, osteoarthritis, and that type of thing. So I think chiropractors are in a really unique position. And here's the other component of it. It also puts a chiropractor in position to be able to run a cash-based practice, because, stem cell therapy, peptides, prolotherapy, laser therapy, and those types of modalities are, those are self-pay businesses, or self-pay modalities. And that's, our practice is 100% cash. So we don't take any insurance at all. And so I think chiropractors are in a really unique position in the future to be able to, provide a high level of care to, a very good market that we can help.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. So you touched on this earlier. Looking ahead, you mentioned a modality that you were trying to introduce to
Mhm.
your practice. Are there any other new therapies or technologies you're really excited about that you want to introduce in the near future?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things, certainly that, if it financially made sense, from a business standpoint,
Mhm.
from a, personal selfish standpoint, I'd love to have a red light therapy bed, a Theralite 360.
Mm,
We used to have one in here. It was a kind of a partnership with one of the salespeople. It was taking up, too much room, and I had to get rid of it because I could, get more productivity out of the room. And doctors shouldn't be afraid of that. They should be able to objectively look at, each quarter, each year, or whatever. Hey, what's working? What's not working? What do we need to
right.
focus more on? And what can
Right.
we quite frankly get rid of? Anyways, but I would love to have a red light therapy bed, infrared saunas, hyperbaric chambers, all those modalities. I would love to, be able to implement and have. That's actually in the back of my mind, another business that I just want to start that
Mm,
can provide those services, but that's for another time.
yeah. Cool. So let me throw a challenge question at you here. If you could revolutionize,
Revolutionize.
ugh. Yeah, challenge question here for you. If you could revolutionize one aspect of your sports medicine, what would that be, and how would it change your patient outcomes?
You got me. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Point for a mean.
Yeah, point for you. That's a good question, because off the top of my head, can't think of anything other than, adding in, different things. I mean, things are always evolving, and, from a financial and convenience standpoint, I'd like to, and I have this on my radar soon, to, be able to have a supply of the stem cells and exosomes that we use for ours, have that in a freezer. I have to buy, I don't know, like $15,000 worth of stem cells, and I get a free freezer because they have to be kept at minus 80 degrees centigrade. But I'd like to have that on hand all the time, just because it'd be very convenient to,
Sure.
have a patient come in and say, oh, we can go ahead and do it right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
but other than that, I
So,
mean,
so
I think I'm on the cutting edge and on the forefront of, most of this stuff anyway. So I'm trying to think, if there's anything that we could, like you say, revolutionize other than maybe bringing in
yeah,
some additional modalities, but can't think of anything
got it.
that's off the top of my head.
So this time has been absolutely unbelievable, enlightening for me at least. Um, so before I got a couple closing questions here for you, but can you tell any DCs or any medical professional or even patients, what's the best way of them reaching out, contacting you, getting a hold of you?
Certainly my website, sarasotasportsmed.com. That's
Hmm.
a great way to get a hold of me. Also, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Dr. underscore Ken. I'm all over social media, Facebook, Twitter, even TikTok.
Okay.
It took me a while to get on TikTok, but I'm actually on TikTok now. Of course,
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, but there's, my website, sarasotasportsmed.com. And then people can also go if they're interested, if they're new doctors and interested in, perhaps my coaching program that I'm developing,
Hmm.
they can go
Hmm.
to Sports Med on Demand or sportsmedcoaching.com.
Okay, great. And what I'll do for those of you listening is I'll have all that information in the description of wherever you're listening or even watching this, and possibly put in phone number, address, and all those things so that you can get a hold of Dr. Kaufman easily. So let me close it out with a couple questions here. After nearly 30 years, wow, man, again,
Hmm.
impressive. Congratulations. Honestly, that's a huge feat. Really, after nearly 30 years of treating patients, what's been the most rewarding part of your journey, either in sports medicine or just your chiropractic journey in general?
I'd say the most, actually, it's well, I'll give you a little bit of recent history. I
Yeah.
was invited to go to Kaiser University over in Fort Lauderdale to speak to their chiropractic students. They have a chiropractic program over there, and they have a sports medicine program as well. And so I was invited to go over and talk to those students, and I went and I did a presentation
Mhm.
on, basically, sports medicine, how chiropractic fits into the sports medicine model and how chiropractors can utilize these tools. And I got done and was so excited. I called my wife, and she said, "You need to get Sports Med on Demand going." And I said, "Yeah." So I really, really enjoy, doing these podcasts, and hopefully maybe I think my daughter's a PA, a gastroenterology PA in Florida. My son's a golf
Wow.
pro. I'm not turning my practice
Wow.
over and my legacy over to family. So I
Right.
think that I'm looking at my legacy to be the future chiropractors that I can help
Yeah.
coach and help move along in their journey, and
Yeah.
help them in their professions and their practices. So I think
Definitely.
that's what I'm most excited about is what's coming up in
Yeah.
the future.
Definitely. Love that. That's awesome. So looking ahead, what's really one goal that you're most excited about achieving in the next few years?
Honestly, to be able to start to step away from me actively involved in the practice, I'll still own it,
Okay.
but really
Okay.
turning it over to my associate and, future doctors, and then really focusing on the coaching and, creating. I've written
Sure.
an article that is submitted to a sports medicine journal that I'm working through that
Hmm.
process to get it accepted on, sports medicine and compensation patterns and so forth. So just to, doing some writing and coaching and developing
Hmm.
that business, and, moving on to the next chapter.
Love that. That's good. Always look to that next best thing, because without losing focus on what you have currently on your plate. I love that because I could see your business is thriving, but you're still looking ahead to what is next for me. And I think that's huge.
Mhm.
Awesome. So if you could leave listeners with one piece of advice to prioritize their health, their recovery, what would it be?
Well, the fact is, I'm 58 years old, and, I've had, just about every injury that you
Hmm.
can think of, as far as, shoulders, knees, and back, and ankles, and elbows, and wrists, and everything. And really, it's just, the best thing you can do for your health is to, be involved in your health, make your health an investment, because you can invest in it now and enjoy things. Invest in it now, both, with time and resources to get the most out of life, or you can wait until you have to invest in it and you're just trying to plug holes in the dike and you're just trying to hang on to live longer. I'd
Yeah.
rather thrive longer and have good quality of
Sure.
life by, investing in chiropractic adjustments and,
Yeah.
massages and regenerative medicine and,
Right.
healthy food, get the, my wife and I eat, as healthy as you can imagine.
Sure. Sure.
And, just really, really, set yourself up and make a plan to enjoy life
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's critically important. And then from the, chiropractor standpoint is, the future is bright and there's plenty of ways to, be able to, affect a lot of people. And that's, I guess, two bits of advice for two separate
Yeah.
groups of people. But
Sure. Sure. Love that. Thank you. Guys, let's listen to that advice. That comes with a backbone of many years of experience. Dr. Kaufman, thank you so much, really, for spending that time here today with me.
well, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. And that wraps up another episode of Beyond Adjustments. A huge thanks to Dr. Ken Kaufman for dropping so much value today. And I'm definitely taking notes for my personal quest to avoid groaning every time I move. For my chiropractors out there, I hope you're walking away with new ideas on how to bring pro level care to your practice. And if you're not a chiropractor, well, you know what peptide therapy is and why lasers are way cooler than you know, fixing your injuries instead of blasting aliens. But if you enjoyed this episode, I'm so sorry. There's such corny jokes, I know. But if you enjoyed this episode, leave a review, share it with your fellow docs, your fellow neighbor, and let's keep this community growing. Until next time, keep adjusting, keep learning, and remember, life's all about balance. Literally. Cue the music.